Hey guys, welcome to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we're back with a Zeri supplementary guide, and today we're going to be taking a look at Unhit Zeri. So this build was like the top build for Zeri, a couple of patches ago, like pretty much all the top Zeri players were going for this weird kind of on-hit build. I say on-hit because like these two are on-hit items, but the rest of the build kind of isn't really. But it was a very popular build on Zeri, and I did make a video on this previously before. When we came into patch like 5.3, it was still a really popular build, but as you know, patch 5.3 went along, the crit build started to get more and more popular, and by the time we reached patch 5.3a, crit build was basically way more popular, and of course we did already cover the crit build in a patch 5.3b updated complete guide already, but I wanted to kind of see if this, on-hit build still works, because in theory, I still think that this build should be pretty decent. Just that, of course, crit should be way better now, especially after Terminus's nerf, and just crit works way better on Zeri. So let's take a look at the build. So firstly, you have the Gluttonous Grease for the AD and the Omnivamp. Then you actually start off with Terminus. Now Terminus gives you on-hit magic damage, gives you attack speed as well as physical damage. And you also, of course, get the stacking resistances as well as the stacking penetrations. Of course, it's just an all-round good ADC item. Then we go into Runan's Hurricane second, which gives you attack speed. And by the time you get this item, like 30% attack speed here and 35% attack speed here, that's already hitting, like, Zeri's cap. So a little bit of the attack speed will actually be converted into AD. And of course, when you get attack speed from Lethal Tempo as well, it will eventually convert into AD via Zeri's passive. So Runans, of course, allows you to attack 3 people at the same time. Also gives you a little bit of on-hit, a little bit of AD, and of course, you can proc your on-hit effects onto 3 people. So next up, we go for Riftmaker, which is just a very decent item on Zeri. Zeri does have decent AP scalings. It does give a decent stat line, but of course you get Omnivamp as well as, the true damage when you're in combat for a couple of seconds, both of which are very, very helpful on Zeri. Now, by this point in time, you kind of hit the point where, surprisingly, you do have enough damage. I mean, you don't have an insane amount of damage, but you do have enough damage to actually go into defensive options. So Maul is I say it's a defensive option, but in reality it gives you 55 AD, which is one of the most ADs you can get from an item. The only item that gives you more AD is Bloodthirster with the passive, or like IE, which gives you 60 AD. So 55 AD is still a lot of damage, so this is not exactly just a pure defensive item. It is also an offensive item, but it gives you magic resist and it gives you that magic damage shield. Now finally, by this point in time, you actually do have more than enough damage, so you want to go for Twin Guard for the resistances to kind of survive. Being a battle marksman, you will be in close with all the enemies, so you want to get those defensive stats. Now for the spells, of course, for the runes, we have Lethal Tempo for the extra attack range, and also of course the attack speed, which will eventually convert into attack damage. Brutal, of course, lets you auto attack a lot, especially with the on-hit build. Giant Slayer, of course, to counter the tanks, or you could go for coup de grace if you're against all squishies. But normally with this build, I would think you would want to play this build into some tanks, being that you build an armor penetration item right at the beginning. Then we have Bloodline for healing. You could also go for Alacrity for attack speed, but I do think healing is pretty good here because you have more than enough attack speed. Then we have Bone Plating for the defensive capabilities, and finally we have Flash together with Ghost. Of course, Ghost is very important for Zeri's mobility and to combo with your ultimate as well, but you could go for Exhaust in circumstances where there's a lot of assassins on the enemy team. Now, all that's it, let's hop into looking at the gameplay. Okay, so now let's move on to the gameplay itself. So in general, I do think that the crit Zeri is going to be better almost all of the time compared to on-hit, but this is kind of just a build you can go for if you kind of prefer the build. I wouldn't say there's any specific circumstances that on-hit is better. Maybe in situations where the enemy team has a lot of front line, so you can basically hit the front line and proc Runans into the back line. But then again, with crit you could still do that as well. Right? Although nowadays with the crit build you do build Runans very, very late, so maybe in circumstances where the enemy team has a lot of front line, then you could, of course, go for this build to be able to hit the backline with early Runans. Early, at least, compared to the crit build. Of course, in this match, you could say Galio as well as Mbessa are kind of decent frontline. Although I don't really know if Mbessa is frontline, because I do think she's a little bit more of a diver than really a true frontline. Kind of a little bit of the same with Galio, although Galio is a little bit more of a frontline champion than Mbessa. So, we have a pretty interesting Galio Callista lane, which is a little bit scary because if Galio gets an engaged, Callista probably just one-shots you, and also of course Galio can be thrown in by Callista's ultimate to get off a good W. But for now, it looks pretty alright. Like, we are Nami Zeri, and Nami can of course heal you up. And of course that's gonna help you out to sustain in lane, and also just buff you up in general. Now Zeri's laning phase is just very mediocre. I say it's mediocre because it's not bad, but it's not good, right? It's not like amazing like Draven, Kalista, Caitlyn, or Ashe kind of amazing, but it's not horrible, not like a Twitch or a Neela kind of horrible. It's just decent, right? Like, you're just middle of the road in terms of laning. Like, you generally can't kill anyone unless they make a mistake. You generally just want to farm, but at the same time, it's not very easy for them to kill you unless you make a mistake. So if you play it correctly, generally Zeri's laning phase is just farming it up and harassing enemies a little bit by a little bit. And then maybe if the jungler ganks, you can get a kill, or maybe if their jungler ganks, you might die. And if they make a mistake, you can probably kill them. And yeah, so if they don't make any mistake, if the junglers never come, it is a pretty boring lane. It's simply just farming, which is exactly what we're doing here. And farming and poking. I mean, Galio's poking me, I'm poking them back. I'm farming, they're farming, you know, just standard stuff, right? So here Kalista walks up really far. I'm not quite sure why. Or rather, I guess we now know why, because their jungler is here to gank, but we are basically under tower at this point. We have a very good wave position where it's kind of frozen outside of our towers. I'm not sure why the Jace jungle even bothered to come here. Like, if I was the Jace, I wouldn't even bother, like, you know, coming here. Here, I just disrupt his back just to annoy him, because, you know, he bothered us and we're gonna bother him. He comes back in. Kalista appears to have back, so up here I'm actually harassing the Jace, because he appears to be alone, so I'm thinking that I can just get a little bit of free damage on him, just irritate him a little bit. And at this point we have enough for an item, but Nami hits the bubble, so I again just go ahead and annoy Jace a little bit more. I think that Nami hitting that bubble and us cancelling back actually ruins our tempo, so we probably should have just completed the recall and just gotten our item instead of bothering to like attack the Jace, right? There's no real point of that, and it's come to a point where I'm just a few gold off getting a second longsword, so I'm just gonna wait a second and get a second longsword, which does give me a significant advantage over Kalista, who only has boots. Now, to get back to lane faster, I'm using the wall, but this does have the disadvantage of not having a dash if we fight, so I ideally don't want to fight here. As I say that, Nami goes in with the ulti, and I'm basically forced to fight, so I don't have my dash. I'm basically ghosting and running them down. The barrier from Kalista actually helps me to speed myself up. Galio now Kalista ults Galio in, and Galio not really able to do anything. Kalista survives on a sliver of HP, but survives nonetheless, and we're not able to complete the kill. So this is kind of one of those golden opportunities where the enemy team gets very close to your tower, and Nami can find an engage, and you can run them down. This is the main way Zeri gets kills in lane, at least in a 2v2. Like, if you're in the middle of the lane, Zeri is very unlikely to actually get a kill, because like she doesn't really do enough damage for that. You kind of have to run them down over a very long duration, like what we tried to do there. And you can see how that would have worked out if Galio didn't heal and Kalista didn't have flash and barrier. But of course, we weren't able to force any sums like prior to that fight, so it's kind of expected, right? And we only popped ghost, we didn't pop flash. So overall, we still have a summoner spell advantage where both of us have flash, whereas on their side only Galio has flash. So we're completely A-okay. With that, now we're back to the lane, harassing Galio a little bit. Of course, Galio's trying to poke us back, but I think we won that trade because we did get a couple of autos in onto him. And now Dragon and Herald are both spawning. Shyvana looks like she wants to go for Dragon, and Ari is pinging that she's on the way. Orianna is pinging that she's on the way there as well. We want to shove out the wave if possible and then rotate. Shyvana is already doing the Dragon. She's probably going to do it pretty fast, and we're trying our best to clear the wave. Now we're rotating, and we can see Jace on the red buff, so we know that there might be a contest here. But Jace is a little bit too slow, so Shyvana is able to secure the Dragon without issue, and Jace is now hex gating over to the Herald. So now my team is going over to the Herald to try to contest, whereas since Galio and Kalista are still here, I'm going to remain here and attempt to stop them from whatever it is they want to do. So whether they want to push or get tower plates, we don't want to let that happen. So we're just going to stay around, match them 2v2, and hope our team can win over at the Herald. Now, doesn't look like the case because Orianna dies. Shyvana now getting focused by 3 people, and she is soon to follow. Apparently, down she goes. And yeah, looks like enemy team is gonna be able to take the Herald, and we're not gonna be able to get that one. So here, we recall next to the wall so that if someone, like someone being Galio, surprise engages on us, we can hop over the wall. Really important on Zeri to always know where walls are, because countless times you will be able to escape using your E, whereas other champions would not be able to. So with Zeri, you always want to be close to walls, like when you're farming minions, be close to walls when you're recalling, just always be close to a wall. Of course, there are exceptions, like if you're playing against a Vayne, or a Kane, something like that, then that might not be the best. Here, Kalista plays super aggressive, gets engaged upon by Nami, and we once again have them on like 1 HP. Right, there, Nami flashes in and tries to damage the Kalista, but the barrier and the heal does come out, so again, we kind of force order some of the spells. The toolkit despawns, so we don't even get that, so that's pretty unfortunate. But we do get enough gold for Terminus, so we can back and pick that one up. So now with the Terminus in hand, we can head back over to the lane and see what we can do about the situation. Kalista already has the Bork, of course, so it's 1 item versus 1 item now. And here they have not yet been able to proc their Herald, and they only have 10 seconds left to do it before tower plates fall. So ideally we want to stop them from proccing it in the next 10 seconds so they don't get extra gold. Jace is now coming in for a gank again, and now we cannot really stop them from proccing the plates. But they do all get caught though, and here I'm just blasting all of them. Jace is 1 HP. I'm trying my best to reach him, but I can't. Kallista's also 1 HP. I can't get her either. I'm getting blocked by the minions, and I almost died to Kalista, but thankfully Shyvana comes in. And now I'm getting chased by Ahri, and there are no real escape from me. Shyvana picks up a double though, goes in onto the Jace and picks up a triple, but does die for it. I think overall, I guess that's fine. It was a 3-for-3 trade in the top lane. Yeah, but Ariana did die mid, so in the holistic view of the situation, it's a 4-for-3. So I guess that's not really that good. But yeah, you know, that was a kind of horrendous situation on my part. Like, Zeri has that problem, you know, that you can't attack anyone past the first target. So the moment Jace goes behind, you know, the Galio and the Kalista, all I can really do is to Q him. I can't actually like auto attack him down, but my Q is like on cooldown, so I can't really do very much there. And Ambessa's now 7-2, so she's really fed. Jax gets a shutdown onto her eventually, but he's the one who fed her in the first place. Like, she's like 4k gold ahead of the Jax, which is pretty horrendous at this point. And she's gonna be a problem eventually, of course, because Ambessa, of course, is gonna run you down. That's never really a fun thing. And here we are just going to clear out the jungle and clear out the lanes as well, just maintaining our farm, keeping our farm up at all times. And we can see 3 people are down there in the bot lane. So we can see like the mid laner and the bot lane down there. So we know that only people who could respond to us is either Jace or Ambessa. And we are going to be able to be ready to run. Now, I thought Ambessa was going to ult here, but I guess she doesn't want to fight 2 people. But I was kind of ready to dodge. Here I'm getting close to the wall because I'm expecting her to ult. Again, I predictively jumped the wall expecting her to ult me. But she doesn't seem interested in ulting me. I'm not sure why, because she is really fed, and like if I'm Ambessa, like I see a 0, 1, and 2 ADC, I'm gonna ult that guy, right? But she's 7-3, she's not ulting me, so you know what, it's fine. I'm happy to not get ulted. She goes into the bush there, trying to just apparently clear the wave. Now here my team is here for backup, my team being Shyvana. She finally actually ults me, and everyone else on my team is already here, so she ends up getting focused down and dies. Enemy team is now coming in. Jace is now getting focused. He lives on 1 HP again. Like, no way, right? And now we're trying to chase. The Kalista gets the barrier on, which actually gives me the damage to... not damage. Gives me the movement speed to actually chase her down. Jace tries to go on the 1 HP Shyvana, but he dies for it instead. And we end up winning out on the team fight. In the grand scheme of things, 3 of them are dead, and we're going to be able to secure the dragon as well. We do get the objective bounty because we are pretty far behind at this point. Like, we are still 4k behind even with that objective bounty. But here I'm going to reset to restore my mana as well as pick up my Runaan's Hurricane. Now, of course, Runaan's Hurricane is a huge pickup for Zeri, and especially so in this match. You can see we've been having trouble hitting, you know, people behind the initial target, which is a really major issue right now. So having the Runaan's is going to help us out with that tremendously. So here Ambessa is in our jungle, and Galio and Ari are going for the Shyvana. I'm thinking it's gonna be a little bit hard to save her, but my whole team is actually going, so I'm gonna go ahead and join them. I'm dashing over, focusing Ari a little bit, but she's way too mobile. She dashes away. I'm being cautious to not be completely in the front line, but now I am, so I'm gonna try to run away. Ambessa hits me with the ult on the tip, but I'm able to flash away. She's chasing us down, but we're able to eventually focus her. Now with the full stack lethal tempo, and with the ulti we're just hitting whoever we can, and we do eventually pick up a double, and two other people die as well. Only Jace is left alive because he's on the opposite side of the map, so 2 for 4 trade here is pretty positive. And unfortunately though, the gold deficit is not really narrowing, because while we're getting kills, Jace is getting a tower, and the enemy team is of course maintaining their gold lead against us, which is never a good thing. Jace is trying to make his way to safety through the jungle, which he is going to be able to, because we are not going to be able to catch up to him. We are, however, going to be able to farm up the wave and see what else we can do. So no real easy farm to secure. I don't want to walk all the way up there to the top lane again, because I'm a little bit afraid Ambessa is going to come and engage on us, which she was 7-2, she's now 7-5, so she has copped like 3 deaths in the last couple of minutes, but she is still really scary and can easily just one-shot us. Jace as well. Jace is like double lethality item already, with lethality boots as well, so we definitely want to be cautious, right? The enemy team is all doing really well in general, so we definitely don't want to be caught out. We are 4-1-4 now, so we are pretty far ahead of Kalista. We're 2k gold ahead of the Kalista, so in that respect we are doing pretty well. However, we definitely want to be cautious and not be too reckless. Just play safe and stay in the back line, kill enemies, things like that. So here we see the enemy hovering around the Baron area. I'm just heading over to farm these raptors while kind of going towards there. Ambessa split pushing top, and Jace is doing the same in bot. So they are kind of doing pretty well in terms of their macro. I'm gonna back. I pick up my Riftmaker, and here I was thinking whether or not I should defend the top lane, because it looks like a fight is gonna break out. I eventually decide to go over and defend top lane, because there's gonna be a wave that dies to the tower if I don't clear it. So I'm gonna quickly clear it and hope my team doesn't get into a fight while I'm busy doing so. Thankfully they don't. However, the enemy team is starting off Baron, which is of the obvious play, of course, based off of their top lane push to force me to go there. They managed to get the Baron down to half health, but they're not able to actually secure it, and we're able to kind of dissuade them from going for it and push them away. So now they're all kind of A-ramming it down mid. All 5 of them are there. They do get the mid lane tower. And yeah, so here I'm a little bit of aggressive position, so I'm going to back off. Ambessa tries to ult me, but thankfully I'm able to backstab before the ult actually connects. And Kalista and Jace are now pushing in the top lane. Now we are getting out macroed by this enemy team by a pretty large extent, right? They are constantly pushing in all of the waves, including the side waves, and forcing us to respond to it while they go about doing other business. So we're getting completely out macroed, but all I can really do is to try my best to respond to the waves and such. Of course, it's solo queue, a very uncoordinated environment, and it's very hard to direct your team, to do go clear waves and push in, things like that. Now we are sitting on Dragon Soul point, and it's Mountain Dragon Soul, so I'm not overly concerned about Mountain Dragon Soul personally. I'm here again. I'm thinking Ambessa is gonna ult in, and she does eventually ult in here, but only when her team is kind of close enough. Here, a full-on fight breaks out. I get my ult off onto the Jace. He flashes away. Galio gets caught, so I'm going to focus him. Focusing Kalista, who's way too overextended, out of position. Now I'm just hitting whoever I can. They're all really, really low. They're all like 1 HP. I flash forward. Nobody dies. Finally, Jace goes down. And the rest of them all kind of survive on 1 HP. Kalista especially. But because of that, we are going to be able to secure the Dragon and the Dragon Soul as the enemy team lost that team fight. So funnily enough, despite the fact that the enemy team is ahead of us, like they're still ahead of us by 4k gold at this point, which has been the case throughout the whole match. They are getting out team fought by us, so they are out macroing us to a very large extent, but they are always losing the team fights. So it's like whenever we team fight, we basically always win, and whenever we do macro, the enemy team basically always wins. So essentially, the enemy team should focus on macro, and we should focus on trying to force team fights. Thankfully though, the enemy team is gonna be forced to team fight us sooner or later, like when they go for Baron or things like that. But they can actually avoid that through really good macro. Like what they tried to do just now, right? They forced me to respond to the top wave and then they went to Baron. And if they can pull off plays similar to that one, that is the way that they can win the game. Because it's quite obvious that their team doesn't win against us in a full-on 5v5, but they can, of course, out-macro us. Now, speaking of 5v5, it looks like a fight is going to break out in the top lane. I'm trying my best to respond. Galio is coming in with the hero's entrance, and I'm just focusing whoever is the first target. In this case, it's the Galio. Of course, with the Rune Lance, it's going to hit other targets as well. Shyvana picks up a double. And, yep, so Mbessa does go down, so does Galio, who tried to save her. And I'm trying to focus down this mid lane tower as Kalista is trying her best to clear the wave. We do get the tower as my team starts off the Baron, placing a ward down to check if anyone is coming. Of course, Jace is still alive. He is on his way here. We have to try to turn on him to dissuade him, but we are able to secure the Baron before he is able to get into position to really, steal or anything like that. So here I'm now going to back and just get some item components. I have swapped out my boots for armor boots already, because basically majority of the enemy team are physical damage. Of course, Ahri and Galio are magic damage, but they are not really the main sources of damage for their team at the moment, so it's not too big of a deal. Now, while waiting for the TX to kind of push up, I'm just securing more farm in the jungle, and we do have our mid laner, the Orianna, in the TX, which is a pretty weird choice, but hey, I'll go with it. So here I'm just focusing following my team in the TX. TX ulting down the mid lane tower, not very successfully though, eventually does get it. And Mbessa is busy split pushing, so this could be a problem. Jax is recalling to respond to it, so that looks like good news. All he has to do is to stop Mbessa from taking the tower. He doesn't have to kill Mbessa, nothing fancy like that, just stop her from taking the tower. Looks like he is able to do that for the moment. Mbessa looks like she's going in on him under tower though. And now Mbessa's running for the hills. Meanwhile, over here, we catch out the Galio, we ult him down. I fail my dash over the wall. I actually dash into the wall, I believe, and I'm trying to chase down Kalista, but not very successfully. Now here we're trying to end the game, but we don't have a wave, and I think it's not a good idea. So eventually we retreat, and we're gonna go over to Elder Dragon instead. Jax was able to actually kill Mbessa, so Mbessa's down, Galio's down as well. Again, it's only the three of the enemy team left. Now here the TX is actually distracting the enemy team from the Elder, right? It's like you have a TX running at your face and you're pretty much, I wouldn't say forced, but you really want to attack it, right? You can't just let it live like that. So here eventually we do get the TX. Orianna goes in with the ulti and does get a free kill right after onto the Jace. Now is running down the Kalista and gets her. Ahri is flashing away to safety, and now we're gonna basically just try to force the end of the game. We have Elder, so we are probably going to be able to kill people if they try to respond. Mbessa gets caught and bursted down with the help of Elder. And the next wave is coming in now. And this Mbessa went from like 7-2 to 7-8, which is pretty unfortunate for her, I guess. So we get the top lane pushed in as well. Now we have minions, and we're just trying to focus the Nexus. Just having a little bit of fun killing the Ahri before the game ends. I now have no mana, so I'm going to have to wait for the minion wave to walk in and then just focus down the base and get the dub. So I'm going to leave you guys with the stats as usual. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.